topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Experts radio show, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is going to be a little bit of a different show. We are on TikTok, so I am going to have to use TikTok language so I don't get kicked off, but I think you're going to understand what I mean when I start talking about different things like a knife, which you know what that is, or the unaliving, which I think you know what that is. We just got to keep within the TikTok language since that's one of the platforms that we're on. We're talking today about the unaliving of Austin Metcalf. And the reason why I decided to do a show like this today, there is so much misinformation out there, and it's causing a lot of racial tension. And if you know the complete truth, not what your feelings are, but if you know the complete truth, I think you're going to find today's show very educational. Again, we're going to be talking about the unaliving of Austin Metcalf in Frisco, the track star who was unalived by Mr. I hate using his name. I'm so upset, but his first name was Kamalo. And there is no excuse to unalive somebody over, they say it's a push, but I've read all 70 pages of the court report, and I've actually read it 6 times. I wanted to make sure that this show was so accurate today. So if you're listening on TikTok, and we're on 70 platforms, but if you happen to be listening on TikTok, you really want to tune in today. We don't ask for gifts. All we ask for are give us a like and share the show. So almost 2 years ago, in Frisco, Texas. And so that you know, Frisco, Texas is a very nice community. I would say mostly middle to upper class community. And what the track team does is they set up tents for, and this is really important, for their teammates to go in. It could be from rain, it could be from sun, but this is the most important thing. It is strictly for teammates and coaches. The track coach appointed Austin Metcalf as kind of to take control of the tent. Don't let anybody in who's not supposed to be there, and make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. That was the coach of the team. So we learn that Kamala Anthony walked into the tent and sat down, and he was asked to leave nicely. No one put any hands on him. He was asked nicely to leave. In fact, he was asked, it's in the court report, 15 times to leave. And Mr. Anthony thought he would get smart and he was better than everybody and used language that I wouldn't want my kids using, calling the kids in there B's, B-I, F-U, a lot of words like that. And again, he was told to leave. And finally, he said, "What are you going to do to me if I don't leave?" And here is one of the problems. Austin put his hands on his arms. He didn't push him. They're trying to say he pushed him. He didn't push him. Of course, if he pushed him, he probably would have fallen. And he told him to leave. And Anthony said, "You don't want to do that to me, or you're going to find out." He then proceeded to go to his backpack. Here's another problem. People are saying that when he pulled this kniff out, that it was a utility kniff. It was not a utility kniff. It was a regular pocket kniff. Again, we're using words from TikTok so we don't get kicked off of here. And he proceeded to unalive Austin in the heart. It wasn't like he did it on his hand, in his stomach, leg, across the face, in his heart. One of the things that was said was that, and it's gotten so out of hand, is that there was 4 to 6 people there with Austin Metcalf. Big, huge guys all of a sudden. You know, in track, especially the runners, are mostly pretty thin. But that was not the case. That was not true. The closest person, Austin had a twin brother named Hunter. And he was the closest person 4 tiers up. So the excuse where he was getting jumped, and I hear a lot of people out there saying he was jumped by guys bigger than him. He was not jumped. In fact, and this is really important, Austin said, "I don't want to fight you." He repeated that 3 times. He said, "I don't want to fight you." And that wasn't good enough for Kamala Anthony. I'm going to tell you something about the parents since they're being brought up. So, one of the saddest things that I can say is when the jury went to give the punishment phase, the parents walked out. Now, if that was my son, was he wrong for unaliving somebody? Absolutely. But he's my son, and I would have sat by him and not left him in that courtroom by himself. So there was another problem people are using. And I got to tell you, the father came up, See, he had a gag order on him. And what was amazing is the Anthonys didn't. They could say whatever they wanted to say. But Austin's father had a gag order on him, and the mother. Austin's father went to the Anthonys to make peace with them. He's a very religious man, Mr. Metcalf, and he really wanted to bring peace, and the Anthonys threw him out. I thought that was so cold. I mean, here's a father whose son was just unalived, coming to make peace, and the parents threw him out. During the trial, and I'm skipping around because I'm trying to use many of the things that people are saying, black and white, that there was 21 eyewitnesses. 21. Because they're trying to say the jury wasn't fair. The judge wasn't fair. They're also saying Kamala Anthony's attorney wasn't any good. Let me start off with that first. The Anthonys had a GoFundMe account. The last amount I saw was $650,000. That was donated to the Anthony to help with legal expenses. The Anthonys fired their first two lawyers. The third lawyer came to him and said, we're going to need some specialists when it comes time to witnesses. I'm going to have to call people in, and it's going to cost. And the parents said they could not afford it. Remember, $650,000 in their to-go fund. GoFundMe now. So they had a chance to get a better attorney. But from everything I've learned about the attorney that represented him, is really a good attorney. And he is really good at negotiating. So I blame that on the Anthonys if they didn't think the attorney did a good job. And all these people out there in the community saying the attorney didn't do a good job. So the eyewitnesses, they called up 27 eyewitnesses. Now remember this, 21 of them said that Anthony was strong-arming Austin. He was the cause of it. 21 out of 27. The 6 others were turned around by the prosecution. They found lies in their eyewitness attempt. So all 27 eyewitnesses blamed Austin. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's probably not going to be liked by a lot of people. I don't care if he would have had Johnny Cochran. There is no way Carmela Anthony would have won this case. No way. He had no chance of winning this case. Do you know he even admitted to the police that he did it? I mean, it just blows my mind that people are going around saying that the attorney was bad, that Anthony should never have gotten, and let me just say this, He got 35 years. Now in Texas, on good behavior, you're up for parole at half. So he could actually end up serving 17 years for unaliving somebody. Do you know the jury had a choice of between 5 and 99 years? He could have gotten 99 years. Now, I did a poll with people who watch us on TikTok. 82% of the people said he should have gotten a stronger punishment than 35 years. 80%. And don't say, well, I'm sure they were white. Actually, I think there was more blacks than whites who said this. And I want to say this. I am so proud of the black community that there's so many of them that are not in dreamland with this case who actually believe that it was Anthony's fault and he should have never unalived him. I was shocked about that. I thought more blacks would be in favor of Anthony. I'm so proud of the black community. This case is still being talked about every day on the internet. And there's still so much bad information out there. One of the things that was brought up is that he was epileptic and he had seizures. The only problem with that is he didn't have a seizure and fall on that knife. He was driving his car. You know, in Texas, that once it's discovered you have seizures, you can't drive for 120 days. And if that was the case, why didn't they have a doctor up there saying, that he has seizures? There's a lot of things that people are saying that aren't true that was not even brought up in the trial. Now, don't you think if they had claims that would help Mr. Anthony's case, that it would be brought up during trial? Another thing is they said that Anthony should have been called to the witness stand. Now, listen, if you're like me, you've seen a lot of trials, and usually the defense will not call up their client. They could say the wrong thing, but he was given a chance to go on the stand. And of course, the attorney gave him the pros and cons, and him and the family decided not to go on the stand. So whose fault is that? It wasn't the prosecution. And I keep thinking, because, they're going to appeal this. And a bad thing about the appeal is that he might get the appeal. And this is the reason why I say it's bad. If he gets the appeal and they do the trial over again, he could get those 99 years. He could get those 80 years. So I don't know if that's such a good idea. And they really, I'm telling you, they really don't have a leg to stand on the appeal. I'm telling you, I know there's some celebrities that are giving the family money for the appeal, but most of the lawyers I've talked to said this appeal would have no chance. I want to go back one more time to the jury. another complaint that it was not a jury of his peers. First of all, he's in Frisco, Texas, and I would probably say it's 80 to 85% white. They're out there saying that the entire jury was white. Folks, that's not true. I don't know if I have the numbers right, but there was 5 white jurists. There was 3 Hispanic. There was 2 Muslim. So it wasn't an all-white jury. They had a chance to have 3 black jurors. There was things that denied these jurors from going on. Actually, of the 5 blacks, 2 of them said, I cannot give a good response to a unaliving like this. I would be biased. Well, of course you don't want to have them on. And 3 of them were teachers. And the judge said there will be no teachers of any kind on the jury because teachers, teach kids and might have stronger feelings for Mr. Anthony. So they knew that going in. Remember, the prosecution gets 6 witnesses and the defense gets 6 witnesses. The people are going around saying it was an all-white jury. Again, untrue. I told you about the knife. It was not a utility knife. Why was he carrying a knife in his backpack? Schools don't allow knives in school. Now, I don't know if they call a track event in school, but I'll bet you if they had known he had a knife, a knife in his backpack, I'll bet you they would not have let him in. Again, Mr. Anthony admitted to this. I hope you can see all the misleading information that's out there. And it's really sad because none of those people, I guarantee you, read the trial reports. I think I told you that every attorney I spoke to said there's no way I would have taken this case. No way. There's no way he could have won this case. Knowing all that, people are still out there yelling and screaming, calling names to the Metcalf family. And I just wanted to do a show today on this. And hopefully you learned something from it. What I gave you, I didn't give you anything at all about feelings. What I gave you is what happened by the court reports. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you'd like to come on our show as an expert, you can contact us at 954-336-3767. We'd love to have you on our show. That'll do it for us today. Hey, join us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll be doing our tax relief show. See you then.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.